Bad Larry.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Bad Larry Kingdom. I'm your host, Bad Larry. Today we are checking out the X-Men 97 Season 2, Issue number 2. And this cover by Todd Knock. It's super good. I give it a B++. He does some cheats like there's no feet. How is Archangel flying in the sewer? Sunspot's got his little fists up. But at the end of the day, it's colorful. I love it. Marvel isn't dumb. They know they can put out these comic books and keep people interested in promoting the X-Men 97 cartoon, which to me, it's one of the best things in any genre that I've seen in the last 5 or 6 years, maybe 10 years. But these comics are still valid. They still give you a reference point on the characters and what's going on. So let's check it out. Just like in the cartoon, you got to give a little what happened last time on the X-Men. Well, Bishop and Forge, they're splitting up. Forge is going to the future to try to get Cyclops and Jean Grey and those X-Men. Bishop is going to go to get to the past and try to get Professor X, Magneto, and those X-Men. Meanwhile, Havoc and the X-Factor team are government stooges that have just rounded up these mutants unfairly. Exodus showed up and decided to recruit all the mutants to be part of his Acolyte team. And speaking of recruitment, we see Cable over on the right that have recruited Jubilee and Sunspot into his new team, X-Force. Jubilee is blindfolded, getting the snot kicked out of her along with Sunspot. They're doing some training. I don't know why she's not wearing her yellow jacket, because if you want to train how you're going to play. She's always wearing her yellow jacket, so why isn't she wearing it now? The X-Men train in the Danger Room, which is kind of a safe space. You know, you're never going to risk dying in the Danger Room. You know, the X-Men, Professor X is not going to let that happen. But Psylocke training these two out in the real world, there's a real element of death. The main point is Cable's X-Force team, just like any of the X-Force team, they're more deadly, they're more dangerous. But you know what the X-Force and X-Men have in common? Uniforms, baby! Cable rocks up with some new uniforms, only 2, which is surprising. They're not going to be a fully uniformed team, but Archangel is bringing some new uniforms for Jubilee and Sunspot. Let's check them out. So this uniform that Jubilee is wearing is kind of amalgamation of her regular X-Men costume and the Generation X costume, which I'll show you here in a second. The Generation X team, which you see here, they were all uniformed with these big belt buckles with the blue. That's where Jubilee is getting this big blue belt buckle. They had the big gold boots that were real bulky. That's what she's wearing. And then Cable, just obviously to make it different, threw on a little blue X and then some pouches on her thigh, because Cable and pouches go hand to hand. But and also the yellow trench jacket, where she's wearing a Lone Ranger type mask. But this comic and this team came out in 1994, so this outfit is still 90s accurate. Cable is a real soldier. Soldiers have missions. So the mission that they have right now is to hunt down Apocalypse's 4 horsemen. This guy here with the bowl cut is named War. And War and the other horsemen have decided they want to bring Apocalypse back to life. There's the other couple horsemen, Famine and Pestilence. And remember, Archangel was one of his 4 horsemen, but he's good now, obviously. Their main thing is they need to hunt down these 3 horsemen. And to do so, they need to try to find Caliban. And Jubilee has a history with Caliban. Caliban used to be a little scrawny little mutant Morlock, and then this says he was unwillingly changed by Apocalypse, but if you read my X Factor run, you'll know that he willingly decided to become stronger because he was tired of being picked on. But I digress. There may be some non-continuity in the cartoon and the comics. Either way, Caliban somehow rescued Jubilee, so they have history, and she doesn't want to use Caliban like a tool because he's gone through so much. And there's a big separation. You have Cable and Psylocke, who one is a soldier willing to do anything for the mission, the other is a ninja murder assassin, telepath willing to do anything for the mission, and they're older. And then you have on the bottom, you've got the new younger kids who are more empathetic. They aren't hardened by war and blah, blah, blah. So you see Cable is saying, hey, we're going to use Caliban as long as he's willing, or if he's not. And so that's where you get that look between Jubilee and Sunspot, like, this is where the Force comes in to X-Force. They're going to force him to comply. Now, Cable isn't just raising up his shirt to show his sexy body to Jubilee. No, no, no. That's inappropriate. HR violation right there. But what's he saying is he considers Caliban a hound, and you never turn your back to a hound because you see that big-ass scar he's got. Well, we're going to get into the backstory of that. And just like Marty McFly, in order to get Cable's history, you got to go back to the future, to the year 3960, where you see little Cable running around in the desert with his little metal arm, happy as can be for now. Cable gets a message telepathically from Jean Grey saying, get back to the house. No more skedaddling, you better run. You see a little peg leg. This is some future pirate action going on. The art in this book, it's a bit too basic. I mean, look at his face. He's about as smooth as a stick of butter, but I digress. This is marketing for a cartoon, so the art has to mimic that. Nathan calls Cyclops Slim in this future and Jean Grey Red with the double D's. I wonder what that's for, the two D's. Anywho, he turns his attention just enough to get slashed in the side, hence that big ass scar by a hound. Like I said, in this time frame, the X-Men from the 90s that have gone to the future, they get some new cool nicknames. Cyclops is now Slim, which is ironic because he's double extra thick, especially, well, his whole body, he's the opposite of Slim. He's thick. And then, Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, she's called Red with the double D's. Anyway, they're just in their X Factor costumes and they've thrown on some jackets with some shoulder pads, raised up the arms, sleeves, because that's what you did in the 90s, and threw on a handkerchief. So that's cool. And remember, this comic book series is just a reference for the cartoon, so you can know who these characters are, what their powers are going to be, and so when you see them on TV, it's not confusing. Anyway, this guy with the giant spear, he's AHAB, he's master of the hounds. Obviously, the hounds being the red dudes with the spiky shoulders. Cyclops is my number one favorite all-time character, but I will admit, taste this is not like a scary war cry, to be fair. But what's interesting, Ahab, not only does he look like a monkey from Planet of the Apes, but he's got this super spear that once he throws it at you, well, it locks on to your genetic code and won't stop attacking until it hits your target. But come on, a little tossy spear, one single attack, that's not going to be anything to Red, aka Jean Grey, aka Marvel Girl, throwing that thing right back at you. I mean, the Summers family is the royal family of the mutant kind. And you're not gonna mess with Nathan, Cable, and Cyclops and Jean Grey all at the same time. They're gonna win. Nathan jumps in. He's a soldier. He's ready to fight. He's been training. He takes care of one hound. Cyclops takes care of the other. Ahab has decided, rightly so, to live to fight another day. Cable must be thinking, why are you running? Come back. He wants to use, more of his powers. He needs more training, and these villains are the perfect little punching bags. But Slim and Red decide to let him go. The point was that we could introduce these characters and see the cool little special harpoon and these very 90s looking costumes that the hounds are wearing. I'm a big X-Men fan, mutant fan, and I never knew this guy, Ozymandias, the guy with the turban. That's his name. The only Ozymandias that I ever knew was from The Watchmen, but I digress. He returns to Apocalypse, telling him about Nathan, the young boy. Well, Apocalypse needs a new body somehow and thinks that uh, putting his mind into Nathan's body is some sort of a good idea, which we know that's not going to happen. Just like in the cover, we see Cable leading X-Force through the dirty, disgusting sewers of New York City. I'm trying to look around. I don't see enough rats, but that's fine. It's still a cartoon. You don't have to put all the rats in there. Anyway, you learn that Caliban is able to track mutants psionically. Again, this is what this whole comic book is about, to introduce new mutants, new characters, learn about their powers, and give you a reference when you're watching the cartoon. The Morlocks usually have someone like this old little lady called Anna Lee. Oh, just sweet little lady as their little representative because, well, the rest of the Morlocks are freaky looking as hell. But Jubilee has some history with the Morlocks. She has empathy for them. However, the Morlocks aren't soldiers. They're not superheroes. They're survivalists. They just want to live. They just want to live. They're willing to live in the sewer. Just leave them alone. So when some other group infiltrates them, well, they got to do what they got to do to survive. And so they turn on the X-Men. Well, X-Force right here. And the rest of this comic is mainly a little bit of introduction to these Acolyte characters. We see Amelia Voght or Vought. I don't know how you say it. Anyway, they all have these same uniforms, the Acolytes, because they were Acolytes under Exodus. But they think that their leader is dead, or Magneto was their leader. And so now they're hanging out down in the sewers with the Morlocks, which is weird because they aren't, the same. They're more of a tactical team. But anyway, Amelia Voght, her power is that she's misty. She can create vapor and turn things into vapor, including herself. So she's very interesting. The next character is Gargouille or Gargoyle. I don't know why they did this whole French spelling. Anyway, this is actually a female. I didn't know that. This is a tiny, tiny, tiny little character, very short, and her powers are purely physical. She got what you see is what you get. She got the bat wings and the freaking horns and the claws, and she's kind of durable. So she's the little ugly Wolverine of the team without the healing factor, really. Now, this guy could actually probably be with the Morlocks because he got that ugly exterior. His name's Barnacle, and well, he can turn the moisture in the air into these hardened barnacles on his skin, which again is another very 90s type of power that they come up with. You could see Psylocke tries to use her sword and it just bang right off of him. But that Psy knife right through your old Barnacle, unbarnacle. Well, that's tough. No defense for that. And then you got Projector. I mean, some of these characters they came up with in the 90s, these new characters are just whack. I mean, this guy is able to produce these energy projections. He's basically like Cyclops, Havoc, and the Green Lantern all in one. You know, he can create little energy forces or make little ramps or force fields. Um, and, you know, it's an offensive uh, projection power. But um, the point is that we're introduced to these four characters in this comic, so you know who they are and their powers when you might see them on TV. This green hooded figure, well, that's going to be Caliban. You could tell by the gray skin, the skinny, big feet, the tattered clothes. He drags her back because, you know, he's actually friends with Jubilee. I don't know how he got skinny again. And then Frenzy, this well melanated lady, she's got the powerhouse power like Colossus, kind of super durable, super strong, hard to hurt. Uh, Cable saying, well, I still think my big ass gun can do something. And so now they're trying to figure out what the hell they're doing down there. And as you can see by the other Morlocks in the background, these people can't live up in the real world. They're freaky deaky. And Frenzy says, well, you know, we lost our team, we lost our leaders, and so now we're hanging out with these idiots down here in the sewer. And so you see, obviously, I was right. This character's Caliban. He talks in a very weird, broken English. I don't know why he does that. There's no explanation why he talks the way he talks, but this is what he does. Frenzy tells Cable, you know, Exodus is back and he's recruiting us all to be his little acolytes. And he's going to be our leader and he's going to lead us to the promised land. Cable's like, yeah, that's cool and all. But we're going to need that skinny little weird talker, the hound Caliban. We're going to need him to help us track down some baddies. So come on with us, Caliban. And Caliban's like, nah. And he's like, no, you're going to come with us. And Frenzy's like, no, against his will. And then that's where you get the Force and X-Force, because he's coming one way or the other. And you see this sneaky little ninja in the back. You can't take your eyes off a Psylocke. Just like Blondie says, she gonna get you. Well, it's killing two birds with kind of one stone or doing a win-win situation. She forcibly enters his mind and finds the location of the three people that they're after, which means that they've got the intel and Caliban doesn't necessarily have to come with them. So it still feels a little bit telepathic rapey, but you know, they got to do what they got to do to accomplish their mission. And no one was really physically hurt, maybe a little mentally abused, but you know, that's X-Force. That's why it's not X-Men. And just like that, the X-Force's mission here is done, and now their new mission is to hunt down war and pestilence and famine, and Frenzy and the Acolytes just let them bounce. So there you go. And in the next issue, it looks like we're going to go to the far ancient past and see in Sabanur before he was Apocalypse and see what's going on with the X-Men that are stuck in the past. Hey, this issue was pretty cool. It wasn't groundbreaking or, you know, shiver me timbers. But you know what? It's fun. The purpose, I get it, was to market the X-Men 97 TV show. It did a good job. I loved all the references. The art was decent enough. The colors are great. So let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Till next time. Peace.